But I want to thank you all for coming. Most importantly, I wanted to acknowledge everybody here today, but there's too many of you here to get around the room and acknowledge everybody. I want to acknowledge everybody and the ones that might be watching a live stream right now, the ones that couldn't make it here today, that I know that have wanted to be here in the city, and not just here, but all across the state, and quite frankly, across the country for that matter, people wanting to tune in today. Whenever I speak, I always try to think of a theme. And there's two really big themes here, and that's togetherness and love, right? It's just a reoccurring theme that kept coming back to me. And when I say together, I'm going to just start off by saying together, have we not done a hell of a job here in the City of Sullivan? Together, whether you serve on the city council currently, I hope you continue to serve on the city council, whether you've been on past councils, whether you've served on the redevelopment commission, whether you've served on the board of public works, if you've been a part of this administration, if you've been a part of this team, if you've been an employee, or so many people I want to thank, and I just don't have time to do it, but I do say thank you. Together, we've done a heck of a job. It's been a long journey, right? And quite frankly, I'd like to mention that this journey didn't just start in January 1st of 2012. This has been a long coming journey for a long time. It might have been the start of this administration, but this started probably 38, 37, maybe 36 years ago. And there's a little boy. There's a little boy living on East Wall Street. I'm sorry. Whose family loved Sullivan. Whose grandparents loved Sullivan. Whose mother loved Sullivan. And they loved people. Grandparents that raised foster kids for over 30 years. It was nothing to go into my grandparents' house and see a new kid sitting on the couch or in the chair. Somebody that they were reaching out to. They taught me a sense of loving your brother as you love yourself, just like we're commanded to do. My mother educating kids and inspiring and so selfless. A single mother raising 2 kids and just taught give back, give back, give back, and give to others. So it's been a long coming journey. The journey continued up until about 1991 when an 11-year-old little boy stood in Sullivan City Hall in front of Mayor Herman Smith and the City Council and presented the first recycling drive ever in the city's history. Gave a full presentation, and we filled my mother's front yard full of junk. And my grandpa was there to help that day too, among several others. And Mayor Smith opened up the city garage that day and said, yeah, you little whippersnapper, I guess you can use the city garage as a dumping ground too. I'm sure the city employees loved me back then, even at age 11. But we put all the recycling materials together and we took them to Terre Haute. And then in 1995, a gentleman who I always looked up to kind of stepped back as that little boy, a little boy that also loved downtown Sullivan and was inspired by business owners and leaders in downtown Sullivan and used to go downtown Sullivan to buy fish for his aquarium and buy hamsters. My mother loved those hamsters too, let me tell you. And spent a lot of time in the downtown area over those years. And I loved seeing the business owners, and I was so inspired, whether it was, and I don't want to get into names, but standing with the old-timers in the clothing store, whether it's Carl Ingalls or Donnelly's, or spending many afternoons right here on this school ground being picked up in kindergarten, that 6-year-old boy, back to that, from my grandfather. And we would drive the city, and we would drive block by block by block. Anybody been on any of those rides with me? And they'd say, this used to happen here, and this happened there, and when I was a boy, this. And he just, I could see his eyes beam with enjoyment and love. And we drove around, and then we usually finished the afternoon at the Rexall on the south side of the square with Dorvin Olson and Eddie Scully Jr. and Wally Smith and some other names here. I could go on and on. John Wagner, my gosh, Eddie Sr., so many. But the common thing, they loved this city. They loved this community, and that's all they talked about is Sullivan and how great it was and how it felt good to be here and how much they really appreciated each other. And then going door to door in 1995 with a team of individuals, Jeannie, she's here. Jean Bonham's here. That inspired me when I'd sit many afternoons in the newsstand and listen to all the ideas they had for Sullivan. I saw the excitement for Sullivan in their faces, and they were willing to sacrifice for public service. They did so much. And Mayor Bowles got elected and asked me to serve on the Sullivan City Park Board. So I had my first chance to see how the inner workings of government worked, and it was pretty cool being on the park board. And see Jim Purtle and Max here today. So many people that we worked on campaigns and we helped other people, and we loved Sullivan. It was all about Sullivan. It was so selfless. I'm sorry, it's not selfish, selfless. So I wanted to just touch on that today, that this is so much more than just 3 terms as a mayor. The journey didn't start 2012, it started much earlier. And together we've accomplished so much, and I don't want to stand here all day because the list is too long. We've ridded our neighborhoods of eyesores to make way for new home construction, which you're seeing today and you're going to continue to see. We've torn down the elementary school and made the first investment in ourselves with the Sullivan Civic Center where we're sitting here today. And there's so many more future plans that are going to happen right here on this property. And many of you know and are aware of those plans that are taking place. Whether it's the new police department, that we finally in a 3rd term got to move into, or eventually going to be able to move into a new city hall. Whether it's the downtown revitalization, the development, the cutting the ribbons over the years, there's not a sidewalk that hasn't been poured, there's not a neighborhood that hasn't been touched, whether it's simple as a stop sign, a street sign, to a storm drain. Every neighborhood has been affected, and lives have been touched. Every neighborhood has been affected because together we took time to care. And we served. We didn't leave any stone unturned. Like I said, I could stand here and talk about the record street paving, the record infrastructure in our, investment in our sewers, the record amount of grants. We're over $100 million in a city whose assessed value was, quite frankly, $63 million the day we took office. And I could shoot statistics and stand here and bore you to death all day with all these things, but you know what we've done together. All you got to do is drive around. But the biggest thing I think we did together is we revitalized the spirit of a community. A defeated mindset, a city that it was told that it was over, a city that people just quit believing. They were apathetic. They had seen the glory days and they'd seen it come down, and there was just no way in the world that a team of committed individuals was going to be able to come back together and make this happen. But we never doubted. We saw the vision. We saw it as plain as day. We saw it very clearly. And in 2010, I made a big commitment. The little boy made a commitment years ago, but in 2010, a 30-year-old made a decision. And I made that decision because of my family. I acknowledge my family from the past that we've lost, but I made a decision to my family in 2010 to show my family what I was shown, that life is so much more about ourselves, that it really is about the greater good. It really is about being your neighbor's keeper. It really is that the rising tide lifts all ships, that putting other people first is the most important thing you can do over a paycheck. Loving your community and leaving it better off. So my family is the number one reason that we decided to make this decision in 2010. Obviously, words can't express. I could stand here all day, but my words will never capture what's going on here. Can't express my message to you all today. I can't explain the crazy burning in my soul. And quite frankly, what I'm about to announce is the hardest decision of my lifetime. Lifetime. This is more than 3 terms. This is a lifetime commitment. A lot of soul searching, a lot of tears, a lot more than you're seeing today. A lot of conversations, a lot of hugs, a lot of one-on-ones with friends and supporters. But I'll just cut to the chase and then I'll finish up with my remarks. Thank you. But because of the decision I made in 2010 for my family is the reason I'm making the decision I'm making today. And as much as it hurts, our administration will not be seeking a 4th term. and the mayor's office. And that's hard. So you all know I've had some ups and downs in my life. Most of them very well documented. But you never stopped believing in me. You supported me. You stood by my side. And I hope I made you proud. I hope you didn't regret that decision. I hope you will continue to support me and my family. As much as I'm sad, I feel a lot better putting this to rest. This is something we've wrestled with, and I can honestly say I'm feeling at peace. I hope that our administration and our family and our team made you rethink the possibilities and prove that great things can happen, even here in Sullivan. I hope that you understand it's so much bigger than Clint Lamb. It's so much bigger than a movement. It's up to you to take the mantle and move on and rally behind a new leader, someone that steps up as we all come together and continue this magic, this special time here in our city. Because community development is never completed. It's not like, well, we put out an agenda and we've done this, we've done this, we've done this, now we can all go home. Seasons of change. We continue to have seasons of change. And the community development never ends. The community development that I'm talking about, that I've already alluded to and mentioned, is generational. From the city's inception in 1853 to the leaders that I touched upon to my family. This is generational change. And friends, I can see it, I have seen it, and I can feel it. I can feel it. And I hope you can too. Even through ups and downs of trials and tribulations of personal life, through a pandemic, inflation, economic uncertainty, I truly believe the best days are yet ahead for the city of Sullivan if you choose to get on board and help, like you have been, and I hope you will continue to do so. Because just like this little boy was inspired, whether it was the mayor coming to judge him in a talent show or mowing the Little League diamond or selling him a sweater at the men's clothing store for his grandpa, or some of the other past mayors, or some of the leaders that have inspired me and influenced me, you just never realize the impact you're all going to make on the next mayor and a future mayor, or anybody for that matter. And not your words, not fancy speeches and what you say, your actions, your integrity, your commitment, your dedication. That's what will inspire and keep this thing moving forward. People kind of scratch their heads when I tell this to other mayors across the state, and I hope some of them are tuning in, but I always talk about it. I said, isn't our task at hand, isn't what we are doing truly creating the great society? Isn't it really what it is without the federal red tape? And I know these are political buzzwords that some people don't want to hear, but isn't that exactly what we're doing? Broken window theories, cleaning up neighborhoods, workforce housing, workforce development, reaching out and helping each other, not government doing it all, and not the private sector, but coming together as a partnership. Isn't this truly what the war on poverty is all about here at the local level, and continuing to fight for the greater good? I'm proud of the fact that during our administration that we stared in the face of adversity when many laughed, many cussed, shot our window out, cussed us on our front porch, you name it, we could go on. But we continued to stand our ground. We continued to fight back. And with your love and your support, we can continue to face our adversaries and work diligently to improve the lives of those. Yes, improving the lives even of the ones that hate you. Because that's what we do. Our progress was so much more than projects. They were and they continue to be about people, folks that laid the groundwork that I mentioned that were here before us, our friends, family, and neighbors that are by our sides here today, and perhaps more importantly, the folks that haven't been conceived yet. The generational thing that I'm trying to talk about in my message here today. The kids and grandkids of the individuals that have yet to arrive, that they don't know how special it is here in Sullivan. But they're going to see it. They're going to see it in media. They're going to see it on digital media. And they're going to hear it from you. And I can tell you, as a testimony, the houses that are being built and getting ready to be built this year are already half full. And a majority of those citizens aren't from Sullivan originally. a service of spirit, service of sacrifice. So I might not be running for a fourth term, but I'm ready to fight. I'm ready to keep fighting for the greater good. I'm ready to fight and look towards that great society that we're just beginning here in this community. I never wanted to be or run for mayor for the sake of politics, vendettas, or any titles. Just a seed of compassion, and I've already told you that story, and a spirit of community that was planted many years ago. You know, in closing, and it'll be the only in closing, my wife teases me that you already said in closing. But a friend of mine recently told me, of course it was hard for the city. Of course it was hard for my family. But a friend of mine once told me here just recently, and it's so simple and it set in. I felt guilty. You talk about mental health issues, the mayor suffers from them, okay? It's hard. If you're not bipolar before you run for mayor, you become bipolar once you're in, I promise you. Because the highs are high and the lows are low. But that sense of guilt, a friend told me, that 4-year-old Clint or 5-year-old Clint is going to forgive you. They're going to be okay with it. How? I don't know. This is my mission. This is my field. It's going to be okay. And little Clint's going to forgive you. He forgives you and wants you to move on. As your mayor, I've mourned with you. I've celebrated in all your successes. And I've grown to love every single citizen. Every single one of them. A family loses their loved ones and they mourn, like I said at the beginning, and they move on. But as a mayor, you continuously mourn and celebrate both with your community. So, I end with what I started, with a sense of gratitude. Thank you. Thank you because of you. Because you were here to serve. An impact was made. And the city of Sullivan is going to be forever changed. Because you truly lived by the city motto. And you took time to care. And as much as it occurred, we're just getting started. This tired, old, sleepy little city is just waking up. I love this city, as you can tell. I love all that's been accomplished. Most importantly, I love you. Every one of you in this room. And I want to thank you for giving this little boy the privilege of his lifetime. I'll end with this. This is my last in closing. I told you, my family is why I got into this. Whether it was a family from a generation or two ago, my family is why I started. And my family is why I'm moving on. But I'm going to be here. I'm going to be Sullivan's biggest cheerleader unless you out-cheer me. I'm going to fight for you. I'm going to stand with you. I'm going to reside here and I'm going to continue to raise my family and love every one of you. So this isn't goodbye. This is just the start. We're going to be here for another 11 months. I said, you know what? We're going to bust tail these next 11 months like we haven't been busting our tail before. But I promise you we're going to keep fighting. I love you. And once again, thank you for the privilege of my lifetime. And let's keep Sullivan moving. Thank you. God bless you so much. Thank you.